Everything going this morning?
Good, good. I got my fish socks on. So
Oh,
Nice! I got my Beethoven socks on.
Beethoven does.
the dog.
I don't have those.
Neither do I.
Jeremy, you're gonna have to give us one of your
Yeah,
socks.
what?
How high do they go? Do they go high?
They're pretty
Are they
away.
warm?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Jeremy.
So this season, we get to see Jesus kind of getting up close and personal with the disciples one-on-one. What are some of the lessons they're going to be learning this season?
Oh, they're going to be learning some hard lessons. I think the biggest lesson is to trust. Trust is a big one. It's like no matter how often Jesus tries to tell them, at this point, he's telling them very plainly, very clearly, like, trust me, this is going to happen and this is going to happen, but just trust me. And it's just... So I think trust is one of the hardest lessons to try to be taught this season.
And we're seeing the political apparatus of Rome and the religious leaders kind of building up now. Yeah. How is that going to impact the overall plot in this season?
The plot thickens, doesn't it? I think it's leading us to the inevitable. You know, it's leading us to the arrest. It's leading us to the crucifixion. It's leading us to Jesus' death on the cross. It's setting it all up. So, and we see Jesus, I think, in many aspects acknowledging this. We see a lot of the sadness and the pain that he endures in many, many places throughout this season. So I think it's all kind of supporting his emotional journey, especially for the storylines to come.
And how has been doing The Chosen impacted you when you now read the Bible?
I think of most of my friends now when I read the Bible because their faces pop up into my head. So I don't think of my face. That will never change. I think of other people's. Like every so often, Robert Powell's face will still pop in, or Caravaggio, or some painter's depiction. But for the disciples, yeah, my friends' faces pop into my head.
That's great.
It's awesome and it's weird at the same time.
Yeah, and then the next day you see them on set, you know. What are some of the themes in this season that are kind of relatable to today's day in society?
I think that the theme to need to surrender the things that are out of our control and to trust that there's a reason that as a person of faith that God has a plan for everything that happens. Everything is allowed by his hand. And how we receive the circumstances we find ourselves in, how we embrace it or fight it, determines our peace moving forward. So the more we can surrender ourselves in life to God's will for us, whether it be suffering or trial or joy or success, all of it is defined by him and given to us by him. But when we put our faith and trust in him, everything works out, and we're supported through our pain and through our suffering and in our joy.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite fan interaction recently?
Favorite fan interaction? There's so many. I get recognized pretty frequently now. I think my favorite fan interactions are ones where, where people, they're just grateful to have, to be a fan of the show and to be on the receiving end of God's message through the show. And, I think to be just, thanked for my work in the show as an actor is just really humbling. And, yeah, all of it brings me just so much gratitude.
Well, this season, I feel like we see Jesus getting really close, like one-on-one teaching with a lot of disciples. What are some of the lessons that they're going to learn this season?
There's one that came to my head because there's a great moment with Matthew and Jesus this season that you're going to see in episode 2 if you go to theaters to watch it.
I have a moment with Jesus in episode 2.
Yes, I saw that.
It's true.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. For me, it's forgiveness. You'll learn a lot about forgiveness.
Acceptance. Ooh. I think a lot about acceptance. and how to surrender to something.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And this season, we kind of see the political apparatus of Rome and the religious leaders kind of building. How's that going to impact our characters this season?
Probably not well. Yeah.
It's kind of gotten to
Yeah.
a point of like it's survival at this
Yeah.
point. You don't know. It's very scary.
Yeah, it literally gets scary. It's not only are the disciples trying to figure out how best to work within, Jesus and his teachings, but then you have like a literal physical and political threat to our livelihoods. And so it gets very scary, and we know where the story is going. And so this season, really more than any other before, we start to touch on that.
And the themes of like darkness, but yet there's hope. Why is that such an important theme for today's society?
Wow. Because it keeps us going, and I think that's a message that we need to see, especially in the last few years. And that's what the show does so beautifully, is that it gives you community, but also hope. In watching that, you find yourself in it, and you find yourself getting. You never know what you need until you see it, right? You never know what you were seeking, and that's what The Chosen does, and that's what it does to me specifically.
It's really cathartic in that way, where there are so many characters that we dive into so deeply that everyone can find someone and go, oh, that's what I've been dealing with, or that's how I relate to my siblings, my friends, my parents.
That's how I process things.
Yes, and so then it really is cathartic watching it and witnessing the journey and growth of all these characters, and saying, oh, like maybe I can sort of take something from that. Maybe I can better myself in some way, or just deal with tough situations.
Yeah, and it might not always be the outcome that you want to see, but you're going to see how to handle that if
Yeah,
that happens.
totally.
And I think with Matthew's journey, you've seen that, and you'll see it this season too.
Yeah.
So.
What's like one of the most interesting fan interactions you've had in the past year or so?
I wouldn't say. I mean, it's interesting in the sense it's actually meaningful.
Yeah.
It's just so many people like are telling me how much they relate to Matthew and what it's done for them in their lives and how it's changed them. I got a sweet message when I was on a flight from someone sitting a few rows behind me, just saying how much this show has impacted them. So when you're a part of something that's really changing the world, that's the most inspiring thing. I think that's the highest level of inspiration that one can receive and get.
It's the best thing to be a part of as an artist,
because
you know that your work can impact people. Even if in a small way you can make their day a little brighter, a little better, it's like, what more can you ask for? It's incredible.
Because you're contributing to what we need in the world, which is more hope and faith.
This season's kind of different, but we've seen the political apparatus kind of building in the background, but this season is really coming out. So what's going to happen to our characters this season?
Jeremy, you brought up something very astute, which is a political apparatus sort of building in the background. Yes, we have seen that. But what's it all building to? Something terrible. That's what it's all building to. And that's why this season is different, right? Because it's not just sort of like gathering steam. I mean, it's kind of unloading a little bit.
Yeah.
Which
is, in a weird, morbid way, exciting to see, because we've seen all these little trials and tribulations. Depending on what little means to you, but little trials and tribulations that everyone's going through, and now it's finally culminating all those things to more intense problems that we all have to go through, and we start to see it, and we obviously know where that could lead. So it's getting harder.
Yep.
It is getting harder.
Yeah. And then with Rama and Thomas, that was like a totally relatable moment in the season. I was like, this is exactly how it is with me and my wife. But on that note, though, what elements do you guys personally relate to with your characters in the story?
I don't know what love is. I'm still trying to figure out that. So, but it would be that. It's since you brought that up with Thomas, I just think it's just so sweet, a very innocent, sweet kind of. Sometimes it feels like kids on a playground, just one person liking the other person, and just seeing naturally how that builds up. Yeah.
That's sweet, very sweet. Anything for you?
I think that one of the things that I relate to Quintus the most on, and he's sort of a hard character to spend a lot of time relating to, and maybe if you do relate to him too much, maybe talk to someone. But the thing that I relate to Quintus about is that he can see that he's a part of something he doesn't understand. He can see that there's something at play here which is much bigger than what he can understand. And I definitely feel that way, working on a show like this and working with the folks that we're working with. Like, I don't fully understand what all's happening here, but the difference is that I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So this season, I feel like we're seeing Jesus kind of doing a lot of one-on-ones with the disciples. What are some of the lessons that the disciples are going to learn this season?
I think for James and John, we're definitely going to learn to not get ahead of yourself and don't, what is it, the expression, don't grew too big for their britches type thing. So you're definitely going to see those moments, but from many angles, not just from their conversations with one-on-one with Jesus, but also like parents and getting, patted on the head.
And what are some of the key things that you think audiences can walk away with from this season specifically?
Well, I think there's a lot of darkness this season and a lot of heartache, but there's also a lot of hope. Lessons to be learned. I mean, at least for my character, there's a bit of uncertainty, but there's also, I feel like she has to tap into that courage to be present through all of it, just growing spiritually and, emotionally.
What are some of the best or most interesting fan interactions you've had?
Oh man, there's always, I swear this is not a joke. I went to go get my passport renewed, and there was like a soldier, a priest, and a woman. And you'd think the priest would recognize me, but this woman recognizes me, and she's like, "Excuse me, has anyone ever told you that you look like this actor?" And she has me queued up, And then I was like, "Well, that is me." And then she's like, "Oh my God!" And then we start talking about the show, and then it turns out that the priest knows it as well. And so it turns into this whole reunion. And then I'm like, "All right, gotta go," And it was just I feel it was like a great setup for a joke that never happened, but it did.
I bumped into a fan, was it an NRB, I think? And she's like, "I'm so sorry, but I wanna tell you because can I get a picture with you because my daughter is going to die." And then I was like, "Oh my God!" And she goes, "When I tell her that I bumped into you," I'm like, "Oh, okay. So your daughter is fine?" And she's like, "Yeah, she's fine. I'm sorry. I should have phrased that better." I'm like, "Yes, you should have." But I think that takes a cake for unusual interactions.
That's pretty good. But if you could switch roles with anyone in the cast, who would it be and why?
Great question.
Ooh, let's look at this board over here.
Yeah.
And,
Maybe I would take Nick's character. No, maybe I would.
I know there's so many to choose from. That's the thing
yeah,
too. Actually, let's
yeah.
think about it.
I've jokingly said I'd play one of the Roman horses because they seem to have it easy. You know what? I'm going to say a sort of odd answer, but I feel like probably Shmuel.
I like Shahar. I like Shahar's character.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Do I get Shahar's arms? Because
that's why.
Yeah,
That's why.
if I do, then I would definitely do Shahar. Yeah.
I'd be Atticus because he's always eating.
Yeah.
He's always snacking. I'm there.
That's what I would do.
And I think that trying to grasp the sort of intellectual understanding of what you've been taught your entire life with something that you're seeing with your eyes that we see Matthew take that leap.
I mean, I can't help but think of playing you right now because you're here.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I never thought of it though. And it kind of, I would like to.
I don't know, one of the Romans, I just feel like that angle and trying to control the influence, I think that it would be interesting to play with those power dynamics. We don't really know. I think that would be really fun for me to play.
That's a great character. I was gonna say Quintus, because Matthew had his moments with Quintus, just to give him
Be nicer to yourself.
Yeah, be nicer to myself and treat myself more kindly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I've always wanted to act with Joey, so yeah, let's just go ahead
Yeah.
and do that.
And
Yeah,
he
let's
keeps
just
telling
do
me
it.
anytime, whenever he's using as an acting exercise, when he's trying to picture someone that he is romanticizing about, it's not me.
Uh-oh. I feel so flattered right now.
It's this guy.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Yeah. I hope Joey's okay with this guy. Sorry, Joey.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so
have a
much.
good one.
Great meeting you, man.
All right, now I'll take the right sock and
Yeah.
If you enjoy videos that follow your values like ours and you want to help us continue, go to movieguide.org/donate because we're actually a nonprofit. You may not know that, but we're working in Hollywood every day to help families have more choices that follows their values. And also subscribe right now.